Alright, here we go. What's up, guys? Fahros here in some Battlerite. I've been streaming a ton of this game lately, and on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Fahros, I've been playing this, and I get a ton of questions. I get them almost every day, it seems like. People come in my chat, and they say, Yo, Fahros, new player here. Do you got any tips? You got any advice for new players? I just picked up Battlerite, trying to get good at it. And I do have some advice. I actually have 2 tips that I feel like are going to change the game for new players if you watch this type of video or if someone teaches you these new tips. So here they are. First tip for new players is to make sure you get your settings right. You absolutely need to go into your options up here at the top right, go to options, and you need to get these controls right, and you need to get the graphics settings right. Now these are going to lay the foundation to making sure your game runs well and you're using all the tools that the game gives you to your advantage. Because I promise you, you're going to run into people online who are using them. But if you fight people who aren't, and you are using these controls like the interrupt key, the self-cast key, and the mount key, and things like that, if you use them, you're going to have an advantage over people that don't. Let's start with the graphics settings and knock this out real quick. When I first started playing Battlerite, I noticed right off the bat, on my system anyway, the game ran kind of sluggish. Vertical sync was enabled by default. I would recommend turning that off, putting the FPS limit on a custom, put this on custom, and then set an FPS limit that's higher than 60 as long as your PC can run it without getting like frame rate jitters. VSync is supposed to like smooth out your frame rate with your monitor's refresh rate, but it made for a sluggish gameplay experience for me. I felt like there was some input delay with VSync on. Now the game is in early access and this is totally subject to change, so if you're watching this in the future, you know, take that in mind. But for me, I play with VSync off, and I would recommend you guys trying to fool around with these settings to get the most crisp gameplay experience possible, because if there's any sort of delay with your game, or if there's any sort of input delay for you, it could mean the difference between life and death in a game like this, where every second counts. Really, every like fraction of a second counts. So that's that, but the main point of the options that you need to get right are these controls here. This is shit the game doesn't really tell you about. I think the tutorial in Battlerite right now is a little bit of a filler. And it doesn't tell you about a lot of things like these advanced controls. So your interrupt key is super important. Self-cast mount, like I was talking about, and the EX modifier and EX ability keys, either or, are super important. Let me go into training mode with you guys and show you. Jade's a good character to actually show this on. Show you why the interrupt key is so important. We'll start with that. So we're going to start with this interrupt key, and I have it bound on the side of my mouse. The default keybinds are fine for these if they're comfortable for you, but make sure you go in and you're aware of what keys these abilities are bound to, and you either use the default or switch to something that you can hit easily and comfortably while moving around and while firing off your other abilities. So the reason interrupt is so important is you've got characters like Jade who've got this big wind-up attack, right? She's got a big, it's called Snipe. It's a 1.6 second cast where she charges her weapon, she aims her weapon, you'll hear it go and then there's a charge, and then she unleashes this snipe that does like massive damage. Watch what it does to this training dummy. So that's a ton of damage, right? It went from full HP to this little tiny chunk, and that's just one ability. So you'll fight people in Battlerite who will try to play around your snipe. If you're Jade, they'll try to counter your snipe, or they'll use a big leap or something like that to get away from it. So why is the interrupt key useful? Well, you can start your snipe and then animation cancel the cast, so it doesn't go off, and you can do this very late in the cast, so people will see your snipe, they'll hear it start up, and then they'll think, okay, whoa, this guy's about to snipe me, and they'll use one of those abilities like I said, and you can just beat them out for free by using the interrupt key. Let me turn down the music real quick so it's not too loud in this video. So let me demonstrate this. I'm gonna start at the snipe, and then wait until the very end of the cast, and by using the interrupt key it allows me to cancel that. So this can be done on any character, not just on big spells like Jade Snipe, but you can even do it with melee characters. Like, let's go to Sirius as a good example for this. So he's a support, but he's a melee that has a really strong melee strike when his weapon is glowing golden like this. People will try to get away from this as well. They'll try to counter it or use a movement ability. And, you know, you don't want to waste that charged weapon strike if you don't want to hit into their counter, and you don't want to waste it if they're gonna leap away. So what can you do? Well, maybe at the beginning of the match you teleport into someone and then hit them with your strike, and you establish that pattern, right? And then later in the match, when you know, your weapon's recharged and you have your spacebar again, you can jump on top of them and then swing at them, but cancel it. You can animation cancel even melees in this game. And you see, even there, he finished the entire animation, but he didn't actually swing. He didn't actually connect. So, because I canceled it. I just canceled it really late to where the whole animation actually played. But he doesn't actually hit the target. I hit it that time. But you see what I mean, right? So you can get really, really fancy with this interrupt key, and you can really get in people's heads by interrupting your spells at different times throughout the match and make it to where they never know whenever you're going to let one of your big damage abilities rip or not, so they don't know how to counter it. So the interrupt key is absolutely huge, and you need to know about that. Moving right along, we've got EX modifiers and EX abilities. This is pretty self-explanatory, but in this game there's an energy system, right? You get these little energy orbs, they give you energy. You do damage to anybody, that gives you energy. If you kill this center orb, that also gives you energy. And you spend your energy on EX abilities and this R and F ability by default. Your R ability is just a skill that costs energy, and your F is your ultimate by default. But the game, I don't even think, really tells you about EX abilities, and you wouldn't know about them unless you have that EX modifier bound, and you hold it down when you're in a game like this. If I hold down the EX modifier, mine's bound on shift, it changes two of the abilities on my bars. And these are huge. Some characters, the EX abilities are even better than their ultimate abilities. So make sure you've got an EX modifier that's easy and comfy for you to hit, or you can use your EX abilities by pressing these 1 or 2 keys. Personally, that's what I do. I feel like it's faster. I don't want my left hand doing anything. It doesn't need to be, so I don't think it needs to hold a modifier. Why not just hit 1 or 2? It's hitting 1 button instead of 2. And this is really in a game, like I said, where every second counts. So I can just hit 1 to do Sirius's first EX ability. It's the first one on the bar, this ranged strike. And I can hit 2 to do the second one, which is the space. It's this extra teleport that charges my weapon. So don't overlook the EX abilities, and make sure you have those bound. And then we're going to go over self-cast and camera lock at the same exact time. These are huge for new skills, or for new players as well, especially if you're playing support. So let me demonstrate. First, I'm going to play with my camera locked right now, so I can demonstrate why this is bad. I never do this when I'm actually playing the game. I never have my camera locked. So now my camera's locked. If I take my cursor and move it up to the edge of my screen, my camera will not move. It is fixed on my character. Now the reason this is bad is, look at the top of the screen. We have no vision of any target dummy up there right now, right? No vision of target dummies. Now let me unlock my camera. I'm gonna move my cursor up there. Boom. I have vision of two dummies I couldn't even see. I couldn't even see them with my camera locked. But now I can see them since it's unlocked because I get all this extra vision. That's significant. That's a lot. That's a lot of extra vision. So what does this mean for self-casting? Why is this related to the self-cast key? Well, for a character like Sirius, you're a healer. And normally, if you want to just heal yourself by default, you just have to put your cursor on yourself and right-click. And, you know, your camera's going to be centered on yourself when you're doing this. But if you self-cast those heals, you can have your cursor up watching a fight, watching people's cooldowns usage, and then hold the self-cast key and put heals on yourself at the same time. So this allows you to maintain vision of the fight. Let's say there's a fight going on over here, but you need to heal yourself. You can watch the fight, watch that this dude just used his space and his cooldown, and now you know, whoa, this guy's got nothing. You heal yourself up. You notice all this while you heal, and then boom, you space in and punish them because you notice he doesn't have anything to defend himself. And the only reason you knew to do that is because you maintained vision of the fight while healing yourself with self-cast key. So having an unlocked camera and having the self-cast key is super important, just like the interrupt key and the EX abilities are. And then the only other thing you really need to worry about in options is this mount key. So the mount's useful is, I won't spend a lot of time on this, but you start off the game on your mount, and if you didn't know, if you press the mount key while you're on your mount, you get a sprint. And that's useful to just get into the center of the arena faster. And then you can mount up in combat in this game. Now be careful, because if you get hit, you get snared. But you can mount up in combat. So let's say, you know, there's a fight occurring over here, and you get panicked. So you get panicked all the way, you know, to fucking bumfuck Egypt, and the fight's occurring over there. Well, you don't really want to waste your big escape, like your big teleport spell, to get back into the fight. Because then, if they jump on you, you don't have your teleport spell. So what you do, you should just press the mount key and just mount back into the fight. Or if you're in center, you know, and let's say there's some really intense neutral game going on and everyone's using their abilities, but you want to get these green orbs, if you can sneak in a quick mount cast and go over there and get them, you know, that can help keep you alive. Whereas otherwise, look at how much faster that was compared to just walking all the way over there. You know, so you can save a lot of time on that. So that rounds up tip number 1, is just make sure you go into the options. When you first start playing the game, make sure you go up here, you go to options, you get your graphics settings right, and make sure you get your control settings right, because you're going to have a severe advantage over people who didn't do and make use of everything that I just showed you guys. That's tip number 1. Make sure you go into the options, you get your controls right. Tip number 2 is that, in my opinion, to be a successful Battlerite player, you really need to play all the characters at the beginning. And I know this kind of sucks because some people aren't going to want to play all the characters. Some people just know, like, man, I know I want to main Jumong. He's an archer. I play an archer in every game. I want to main Jumong. No matter what the other characters do, I know I want to play Jumong because I think he's cool, and I always play that ranged DPS archer in every game I play. That's cool. But what I'm telling you is your Jumong is going to be better if you also play the other characters at least a couple times. Take them into training. Play a few quick matches with them. It's not going to hurt your rating, anything like that. It's really going to help you out because you're going to learn how to fight against the other characters when you play them. So that's my second tip. Let me take you into training real quick and show what I mean. Show what you should be looking for when playing these other characters. So when you're looking at Sirius, it's not even going to take you that long, right? You need to just mouse over all the abilities, make sure you read the tooltips, make sure you don't neglect reading the EX abilities too. Those are huge in each character. But you're going to notice his left click is just a basic melee, his right click is his heal. Okay, after that, things start to get interesting. This spacebar is a big teleport. This is like a get out of jail free card, and you need to know that Sirius has this. And what else you need to know is the cooldown that it's on. It's on a 9-second cooldown. So that's a get out of jail free card. That's one big escape that he has. But what about his counter? This says counter next melee or projectile attack. Countering an attack teleports you to a new location, healing nearby allies, and recharges your weapon. Holy shit, that's a lot of stuff that one ability does. So this one ability, if you hit his counter, gives him a teleport, that's an escape, heals him, and gives him more damage because it charges his weapon. Let's see it in action. So we just countered a projectile from that dummy. We got the teleport from here to here. That's another big escape. So that's 2 escapes this guy has. What's the cooldown on this? Also 9 seconds. So what else do we got? We got Lunar Strike, that's an AoE Petrified. Okay, that's not really like a get out of jail free card, but it is something to be aware of. That's on a 12-second cooldown. Not really an escape though. And then his R is a dash attack. His F is that big beam. None of those are really escapes. The dash attack can sort of get him out of stuff, but it's not really like a big escape that you need to worry about before unleashing some damage on him. And then his EX abilities we went over earlier, that throwing weapon and that different version of his space. So really, this guy only has 2 escapes. And you wouldn't know that unless you played him. He's got this teleport and this counter. So what does this all mean? Let's put it together. If you play every character, you're going to be able to identify patterns like this, and this is what's going to win you games. A lot of Siriuses will do this, I'll tell you right now. A lot of Siriuses, especially in the low grades, they'll play like this. They'll wait till their weapon's glowing gold. They'll wait till it's charged. They'll teleport at you. They'll hit you one time, and then when you start to hit them back, they'll counter right away. Immediately. Like, tons of Siriuses will play this way. He just used both his escapes. He used an escape offensively to teleport on top of you, then hit you, then counter. If you see that, you remember the cooldown on his spacebar? It's 9 seconds, right? Okay. You remember the cooldown on his counter? Wait, that was also 9 seconds? That means if you are playing a game and you see a Sirius make that play, he's got nothing to survive with for 9 seconds. And you can jump on him. You know your ultimate's gonna land. You know your big combos are gonna land. You know you can get all that damage on him. That's why you need to play other characters. Even if you play Jumong, it's going to help your Jumong punish Siriuses if you play Sirius at least a time or 2 in a game. And this applies really to every character in Battlerite. I could pick any character and go through their moves. I'm not going to do it due to time restraints. But you could do this with any character and then identify how the characters get their damage, what kind of escapes they have, so you can see when they've used their escapes in the match and then punish them for it. And that rounds up my second tip in Battlerite. So just to recap, tip number 1 was to get your options right. Tip number 2 was to play the cast. Take note, maybe make yourself a Google document sheet or some post-it notes, or just try to remember how many escapes each character has and try to take note of how they get their damage. And even if you stick to one character after that, which you probably should, just to train up and learn all the individual matchups, the point is you're going to be able to identify when your opponent's weak and capitalize off of that better than people who haven't played the cast. So those are my 2 tips for new Battlerite players. I hope this video helped you out. If you liked this video, give it a like. If you really liked it, give it a favorite. Let me know in the comments below or in the Twitch chat if you guys like this. And, you know, maybe I'll do some more stuff like this sometime. Until next time, peace out. There we go. There we go. How did I do? How did I do?